You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a charm, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag
For what?
with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club,
Why?
buy some bottles, impress them girls.
what?
It's more than life.
Oh, fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan. And the first thing I want to do is I forgot to do this on the last Saints podcast, and I mentioned I was going to do it on the last UFC reaction podcast, prediction podcast. I was going to shout out a couple people that are more than likely more Saints fans than they are MMA UFC fans. I was gonna shout them out again. So let me shout out a couple people that have subscribed and contributed in the comment sections, because I really appreciate when people comment, contribute in the comment sections, share, like, and all that. So let me shout out these people real quick who have contributed to that, because I really appreciate when people subscribe and stuff. It's not really my thing to ask for people to subscribe and stuff like that, but I pretty much I sound like a broken record when I say this, but you know, if I can identify who you are when you subscribe, if I get that little notification saying who you are, I think it's more likely if you actually have a channel and you have a username, then that's when I'll know who you are, and then I'll be able to see who you are. And if that's the case and I'm able to identify you, then I'll give you a shout out. But regardless, if you don't, I appreciate you anyways. So let me shout these people out real quick, and then we'll get right into this show here. So Brent Lewis, I appreciate you subscribing. And then Sean Gautreaux, I appreciate you commenting on a previous Saints podcast. And I also want to ask you, so Jarvis Landry, he's going to end up missing, I think this is going to be his fifth or maybe his sixth game. He played in one more game than Michael Thomas. He played in the Vikings game, and Michael Thomas didn't play in that game. So he's coming up on his fifth game that he's not going to play in. And the thing with him is he missed 5 games in Cleveland, and then now he's coming over here and he's showing that he's just as injured. So is your opinion of him changing yet, that he's just as injury prone and he has the injuries and he's not getting the same flack that Michael Thomas is getting, even though he's showing that he's just as injured and not willing to tough it out with his little ankle foot injury, that he's just basically kind of like a carbon copy of Michael Thomas, just another injury prone wide receiver, that maybe it's just because he's an LSU player that he's getting a little more leeway that Michael Thomas isn't getting, because now he's going on just about as many games as Michael Thomas now. He ain't toughing it out. So is he just another, like a lot of people are saying about Michael Thomas, is he just another injury prone bum? So I just wanted to shout that out. But regardless, I appreciate you, Brent Lewis, and I appreciate you, Sean Gautreaux. So anyways, let's get right into this now, because there's a lot to get into. So can I get a menu and The first thing I wanted to get into on this is Andy Dalton being named the starting quarterback. And the thing that maybe I'm a little different on that some other podcasters and other Saints fans and just posters and stuff might be a little different and different opinions are a little different and I'm just surprised that people were in such an uproar over him being like named the starter. I'm surprised how much backlash that Dennis Allen and the Saints organization were getting from it. I'm just surprised how many people were defending Jameis Winston and were so upset about it. Like that's what surprised me. Like I thought a good portion of the Houdat Nation would have been happy about it, but I I was just kind of blown away how many uh, Jameis Winston backers and advocates for Jameis Winston were calling for Dennis Allen's head, saying, "Oh, that's not right. That Jameis Winston shouldn't lose his job because he was injured. Oh, Jameis Winston should get his job back. He should get another shot to start now that he's healthy." Uh, I was just blown away by that because until Andy Dalton had his little three interception, two pick six game against Arizona, seemed like everybody loved Andy Dalton and pretty much everyone hated Jameis Winston and seemed to never want to see him again. It's just blows my mind how quickly and fickle Saints fans, and not just Saints fans, NFL fans, all sports fans can be. Now, and I don't think it's really just that in general. I don't think it's just this situation in general. I think it just gives people a reason to be mad at Dennis Allen and a reason for people to call for the head of Dennis Allen and say, "Oh, this is a bad decision by Dennis Allen." If this decision doesn't work out, people can be, "Oh, well, Dennis Allen needs to be fired," because honestly, is it is Jameis Winston the better option now? Would he be any better? Because in my opinion, at this point in the season, I don't think it really matters. I don't really care. My opinion, that's my opinion. I didn't really care. I could have cared less who they went with, you know. But really, when you look at the stats, I had some stats here that I've seen. So points per game since when Jameis Winston played in his three games, which was against the Falcons and the Buccaneers and Carolina. He had 17. He was putting up 17 points per game and completing 33%, converting 33% on third down, and he had like five interceptions and one for a pick six, one pick six. So like those are not great numbers. But then here are Andy Dalton's numbers. He has been putting up 31 points per game, converting 48% of his third downs, and he has, I think, like four interceptions, I think, and two of them have been pick sixes, which were like almost all of the interceptions were just last week. So, I mean, if you just take away the interceptions, I mean, obviously his numbers on third down and points per game are exponentially better, and that's all been without Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas, and honestly, the defense has been playing worse since Andy Dalton has been the quarterback. You could say the defense was playing like decent when Jameis Winston was the quarterback. They've just been god awful since Andy Dalton's taken over at quarterback. So I just found it really odd that people were backing Jameis Winston and were such supporters that no, Jameis Winston needs to get his shot, needs to get his starting job back, because before that Arizona Cardinals game happened, before that those three interceptions, those two pick sixes happened, people would have been coming, would have wanted Dennis Allen's head. They would have wanted to burn the building down if they'd have taken Andy Dalton out of the game and let Jameis Winston start over him. And also, you take away the win-loss record. Either one of them's only won one game. They've also only won one game as well. So the win-loss record isn't any better either. So that's why I say, does it really matter? That's why I don't really care either way. So, but I just can't stop repeating myself. I'm just blown away how quickly people and fans are to just completely do a 180 on how they feel about situations and players. But that's enough about that. Anyways, on to the next thing, and this actually has a similar tone to that, and this is Alvin Kamara's trade rumors, and this is something that it was talked about a little bit. They've been talking about other players too. They talked about seeing like articles even mentioning like Cam Jordan, but Alvin Kamara put out a tweet that said, "LOL, wasn't interested in going nowhere. Y'all be bored just typing." And then he deleted that text, deleted that tweet, and that concerns me more than anything, that he deleted the tweet, because that seems like maybe he's deleting that tweet to appease maybe the team that he may be getting traded to. But anyways, he deletes the tweet. But then I've seen maybe just troll Twitter accounts saying like, oh, the Philadelphia Eagles and how man, I can't remember. Philadelphia Eagles GM's name. I'm trying to think if it's Howie Roseman. Anyways, the Philadelphia Eagles GM is maybe trying to make a trade for Alvin Kamara, and the Saints are trying to get their first round pick back for him. And honestly, hell, if they could actually get their first round pick for him back, hell, I would kind of be all for that, honestly, because really, with where the Saints are in the season, if they could get their first round pick back for him, I think I'd rather have a top 10, top 5 pick in the draft over he's going to be a 28-year-old running back in next year. If you could possibly have a top 5, top 10 quarterback going in, a top 5, top 10 pick going in next year's draft to where you could possibly draft your quarterback of the future, I think that's probably a lot more valuable. But the odds of the Philadelphia Eagles actually giving the Saints back their pick is highly unlikely. But I can tell you one thing: if the Eagles were actually to make that trade, you could probably just mark them down as the conference, the NFC conference champion. You could pretty much just pencil them in the Super Bowl. And talk about a team that's made some Super Bowl or bust moves, getting AJ Brown, getting CJ Gardner Johnson, then this week they got Robert Quinn. You know, they've been making some moves. So would I really be blown away by Tuesday at 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern time if they actually did pull this trade off? I don't really think I would be. And then this is what I was talking about with Saints fans, who that nation being so fickle when it comes to like going off on people. And I think this is just because Saints fans, they're just hurt, they're just upset, they just looking to because the season hasn't gone as planned. I, they just looking to take their emotions and their anger out on anyone they can right now. So I guess Nick Underhill tweeted about Alvin Kamara, and he was talking about it a little bit, and he said something about I just I don't see it happening. Something just to that, referencing it to something along those lines, and just something off of that. Um, People went off on him. I didn't even see the tweet before he deleted it, but he was just referencing it, saying, I just don't see it happening. And people went off on him, attacking him, and he said he was going to log off of Twitter and stop talking for the day. And it's just so funny that people are attacking Nick Underhill just for talking about it. So I just find it so funny. How Saints fans are very on edge for how the season has been going this year. But me, for how the season's been going so far this year, I'm just kind of numb to it at this point. So all this kind of stuff that's going on, anytime I see people getting in an uproar about who's being named the starter or Alvin Kamara rumors, I just kind of find it funny at this point. But that's enough about that. On to the injury report, and I have the final one now, and it's still a long one. It's shortened a little bit, but still some key names are on there, and there's a lot of questionable players that I probably feel at the end of the day will probably end up being will probably end up not playing. They'll probably be inactive. So let's look at this here. So Michael Thomas, he's still got the foot and all that. We know what these guys are mostly dealing with. And what was weird with him is that he was dressed on Wednesday and then was out there dressed, kind of wandering around, and then was just out there for a little while and then went in, and then you just didn't see him for the rest of the week. So he didn't practice, was listed as didn't practice all week. He's out. Jarvis Landry, ankle, didn't practice all week. He's out. Adam Troutman didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, and then was limited on Friday and is listed as questionable. I would be surprised as if he actually plays, even though he's listed as questionable. Lattimore, abdomen still, didn't practice all week. He's out. Andres Pete, limited practice all week, questionable. Let's see here. Keith Kirkwood, limited Wednesday, Thursday, then full practice, no designation. Adebo, limited all week, questionable. And then Ramczyk, rest, knee, limited. See. Make this thing a little longer here. See it a little bit better. Yeah, So Ramczyk was rest and knee, so limited. Was that Wednesday and Thursday, and then he was full, no designation. Calvin Throckmorton full all week, no designation. Peyton Turner finally he was full all week, no designation. So hopefully he'll play. Jameis Winston. So that's why people are mad because he was actually full. He was full, so people are mad because I guess people are even though he has the hip, the back, the ankle, which I don't know how is a fractured the vertebrae. Is that really actually fully healthy? So people are mad that he's supposedly, fully healthy, full practice, no designation. Juwan Johnson, who played so great against the Arizona Cardinals, had the 2 touchdowns. He was didn't actually practice on Wednesday and then was limited Thursday and Friday and then was questionable and limited as listed as questionable. And then David Onyemata practiced all week but then didn't practice on Friday with an illness and then is listed as questionable. So that's kind of interesting. So that's just nothing new with the Saints injury report. It's a long one, and the guys that are always out and hurt is just like I said, it's just nothing new, and it's always painful to read off. Just painful like their pain, I guess. I guess not quite the same, but only good thing to kind of see from that is I guess Andres Pete practicing and Adam Troutman is back practicing and Peyton Turner is full. So those are some positives, I guess, from it. Let's see. Then the Raiders list is long, but no one is actually listed as out. It's a very long list, but no one is out. So Jonathan Abrams didn't practice Wednesday and then was limited the rest of the week, questionable. And that was an illness. Devontae Adams had an illness as well, didn't practice all week and then was limited Fridays, questionable. This is weird that these guys have illnesses. I don't know if that's COVID or just the stomach flu or just the flu or something. That's kind of weird. Tayshawn Bowers had an illness, didn't practice all week, and then was limited, and then was questionable. Divine Dabola had a back and ankle, didn't practice all week, and then was limited on Friday, was questionable. Cleveland Farrell also had an illness. That's kind of weird. So many of their players had illnesses. Didn't practice Wednesday, was limited on Thursday, and then was full on Friday. No designation. Jayon Brown had a hamstring, was limited all week, and then was full on Friday. No designation. Derek Carr back, limited on Wednesday, and then was full the rest of the week. No designation. Darren Waller, hamstring, limited all week, limited as questionable. Jermaine Monor, ankle, limited all week, then full on Friday. No designation. Matt Collins, heel, limited all week, questionable. Josh Jacobs, full, limited all week, and then full on Friday. No designation. Hunter Renfrow, hip, limited Wednesday, full the rest of the week. No designation. Derek Turner, hamstring, limited all week, no designation. I would be willing to bet every single one of those guys ends up playing. I just know how other people's injury reports when it comes to playing the Saints and how they compare and contrast when it comes to playing the Saints. I would be willing to bet every single one of those guys plays. So we already know this. when it comes to injury reports and things like that. We know how they shape up. Every single one of those guys is going to play. The Raiders are just excrementally healthier in comparison to the Saints. So we know what it is. They have a great medical staff, obviously, compared to the Saints. It's pretty obvious. So it is what it is. So let's see what else we have. We know what the injury report is. Shouldn't even have to go over it at this point. The Saints are injured and beat the hell, and the team that they're playing is completely healthy. We should just be able to say that at this point. So the next thing is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost to the Ravens, which I kind of predicted that. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Just want to pull up the score here. Yeah, so the Ravens beat them 27-22. So now they're 3-5. So that's great. That gives the Saints a lot of hope to be able to, if they can get this win, and Carolina can somehow beat the Atlanta Falcons, which is very possible, a division game, and Atlanta's not a great team, and Carolina beat the Buccaneers last week, even with P.J. Walker as their starter, and the Saints beat the Raiders. Everyone can be all tied up, so that's amazing. And Tampa looked good early on. They looked halfway decent. Their defense was playing well, and then they just started getting ran all over in the second half, allowed like 200 yards rushing. So Tampa, they just look in complete disarray. So, and then they even lost Shaquille Barrett. Don't want to see players get injured, because obviously the Saints are decimated. So don't want to see players get injured. But I think they lost Shaquille Barrett to Achilles injury for the season. So they've, on top of the loss, injury to insult, that they lost one of their best defensive players in the game as well. So yeah, things went bad to worse after that game. So Tampa Bay, they're struggling, which is just that helps the Saints. That helps their cause. So if the Saints can win this, and Carolina can beat the Falcons, they'll be tied for first place. Hopefully after Sunday, everyone in the NFC South can be 3-5, and it's funny. I have a buddy that's a Raiders fan, and even with the Raiders being 2-4 and being in a much more competitive AFC and a much more competitive AFC West, he's still so amped up about the Raiders and wants this win against the Saints so bad. It's just, oh my God, it's annoying. It's annoying because of how much more meaningful this win is to the Saints than it really is the Raiders. But yeah, he's a fan of a team as well. But it's just it's a little annoying, honestly, because I'm sorry, the Saints still have a chance to make the playoffs, and the Raiders honestly don't, because they have no chance really of making the playoffs. So they're not going to win the AFC West, and there's a lot of better teams in the AFC than in the NFC. So it's just like, can the Raiders just lay down this week so the Saints can get back into the mix and then in the fold of things? But it's funny. It's funny talking to him when it comes to talking about the Raiders, because I'm sorry, man. The Raiders don't have a chance. They're not making playoffs this year, but the Saints are still very much alive in their division. But anyways, now on to hot takes, and this right here, I don't know if this is really a hot take, and this is probably just something that's probably going to happen in this game because of how bad the Saints have been playing recently, and because of how bad their defense has been playing recently and how good Josh Jacobs has been playing. So this is, I don't know if this is a hot take or just a prediction, a fact, probably more likely. And this is, I'm going to predict that Josh Jacobs is going to rush for 150 yards and a touchdown. And the reason I predict that is because in the last 3 games, he has rushed for, I'm just going to list off his last 3 games. So against the Denver Broncos, he had 28 carries for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then in his game after that against the Kansas City Chiefs, he had 21 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. And then last week against the Houston Texans, he had 20 carries for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is just ridiculous. So he's getting at least in those last 3 games, he's getting at least 140 yards a game, and at least 2 touchdowns, at least a touchdown in every single one of those games. So are you telling me, with how bad the Saints defense is and how poorly they're tackling and how bad their run defense has been playing, that he's not going to get at least 150 yards and a touchdown? I ain't buying it. I would not bet against that at all. So that's one of my hot takes, that Josh Jacobs is getting 150 yards rushing and a touchdown in this game. So that's one of them. And then the other one, maybe this is just a bonus. Alontae Taylor, he played good last week against the Arizona Cardinals. So I'll just throw this out here because I don't think Derek Carr, he'll throw one up for you every once in a while. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world. I think he's very similar to his brother David Carr, but I think he's on a better team. I think he's surrounded by just more talent. Basically, I think he's basically just a carbon copy of his brother David Carr, honestly. So, and he just throws them out there. He'll throw one up for you every now and again. He's very similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, honestly. So, with that being said, I think Alontae Taylor is going to get his first interception of his career off of Derek Carr. So that's my other hot take. So Alontae Taylor is going to get an interception in this game. So those are my 2 hot takes. Josh Jacobs is going to get 150 yards rushing, a touchdown, and Alontae Taylor is going to pick Derek Carr off in this game. And then to my game pick and score, my game prediction in this game, man, it would be so nice if the Saints could just win this game. And it wouldn't be terrible if Carolina doesn't win the game and Atlanta still wins, because do I really have hope that Atlanta is going to go on some great winning streak and that would crush the Saints' chance of not still being able to win this division? No, not really. So if the Saints could just win this game, it would still really boost their chances of winning this division. So it would just be amazing if the Saints could go 3-5. So it wouldn't break my heart if Carolina doesn't beat Atlanta. But man, with how bad they've been playing, and they're still really beat up at positions. I didn't even mention on the injury report that Bradley Roby went on IR. He went on IR, so he's done for the next 4 games at least. So with my game prediction, I can't force myself to do it. I can't do it. I can't put my trust in the Saints to actually win this game, even though the Raiders aren't a great team. Their last win, their win was against the Houston Texans like arguably the worst team in the league. So can't really say that their win last week was really that impressive. But I got to go with the Raiders in this game. And the score I'm going with is I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game 30-27. Raiders are going to win this game 30-27. But I think that's all I have for you. But who dat? And can I get a check, please?